Hello and welcome to our deep dive today. If you are joining us right now, you are probably spending some of your free time practicing your English.
Yeah, you are. And learning a new language as an adult, well, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort.
It really is a big challenge. So the fact that you are listening to this right now, it means you are already doing a great job. We know that studying can sometimes feel, well, it can feel overwhelming.
Absolutely. You might look at a big grammar book and feel a little bit tired.
Right. But today, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to take a slow, comfortable walk through a story.
Mm-hmm.
We will speak clearly. We will use everyday words. Our goal is to create a space where you can just listen and learn without feeling any stress.
That is the perfect way to start. It is so important to acknowledge the hard work our listeners are doing. Today, we have a really interesting topic to discuss. We are looking at a program called Learn English Through Story.
Yeah, and in this program, there are two friendly guides. Their names are Mike and Lena, and they share a simple beginner-level story.
The story is about a young man named Daniel. Daniel is moving to a completely new city. He does not know anyone there.
So, if we want to learn English, why are we looking at a story about a man named Daniel instead of looking at a normal textbook?
That is the big question.
Right. Well, Mike and Lena make a very interesting point about this. Their goal is to show us exactly why stories are such powerful tools for learning. We are going to look closely at the specific lessons hidden inside this story. The story is called The New Neighbor.
But before we get into Daniel's journey, we should talk about how we're going to listen today. Mike and Lena share a piece of advice that I think it is brilliant.
What do they say?
They tell their listeners, don't worry if you don't understand everything, just relax and listen.
I am so glad you brought that up. That advice is the foundation for everything we will do today. Think about what happens in your body when you try to understand every single word of a new language.
Your shoulders get tight.
Yes, exactly. You might hold your breath. You start to feel anxious. When your brain is stressed, it actually becomes much harder to remember new information.
It does. Mike and Lena are telling us to drop that stress. You do not need a dictionary open in front of you right now.
Not at all.
If we use a word you do not know, that is completely fine. Just keep listening. The meaning will usually become clear as we keep talking.
It is about trusting the process. You can just let the natural conversation flow around you. So, keeping that relaxed feeling in mind, we can look at the main idea from Mike and Lena.
And their main idea is that listening to stories is one of the absolute best ways to learn a language.
They explain that stories expose you to real sentences, useful words, and natural expressions.
Yeah.
I am curious about the science behind this. Why does a story work better than a list of vocabulary words?
It comes down to how human memory works. Imagine you have a piece of paper with 20 new English words on it. You read the list over and over.
You try to memorize them.
Right. You might remember them for a test the next day. But a week later, most of those words will be gone from your memory. The brain easily forgets isolated information.
Let's explain that word, isolated.
Good idea. Isolated means the word is all by itself. It has no friends. Stories change that. Stories give you context.
And context is the situation happening around the words.
Exactly. When you hear a word connected to a character, an emotion, and an action, your brain builds a much stronger memory. You remember the word because you care about what happens next in the story.
I like to picture this using the idea of building a house. Building a house is a huge project, just like learning a language. To build a solid wall, you need bricks.
Bricks are those heavy, solid blocks made of clay.
Yes. In our language learning house, the single vocabulary words are the bricks. You absolutely need them. But what happens if you just stack a bunch of dry bricks on top of each other?
Well, the wall will fall down the moment the wind blows. The bricks cannot hold themselves together.
Exactly right. To make the wall strong, you need cement. Cement is the wet, sticky material that you put between the bricks. When it dries, it holds everything tightly together forever.
That is a great picture.
The story is the cement.
Mm-hmm.
The story takes all those individual words, your vocabulary bricks, and connects them. It connects the words to a feeling or a picture in your mind.
And Mike and Lena also talk about natural expressions. This is another reason why the cement of a story is so useful. Language is not a math formula.
Right. It is not just 1 + 1 = 2.
Exactly. You cannot always just put a noun and a verb together and sound natural. Real human communication is about how we connect. A natural expression is simply the way real people actually speak to each other on a normal Tuesday.
A textbook might teach you a very formal, stiff way to say hello. But a story shows you how people use language to smile, to be polite, or to show they care in the real world.
I remember when I first tried to speak a foreign language while traveling. I had memorized a lot of textbook phrases. I went into a store and spoke a perfectly grammatical sentence.
How did it go?
Well, I sounded like a robot. The person in the store looked at me very strangely. I realized then that I needed to learn how people actually sound when they talk to each other.
We have all had that experience. It is a very normal part of the process. Stories help you move past that robotic stage. They help you learn the culture of the language, not just the rules. You learn how to sound like a friendly neighbor.
Which is a perfect way to bring us to the beginning of Daniel's story. We can picture the scene in our minds. The story starts in a quiet neighborhood.
Just make sure that word is clear. A neighborhood is just a small area in a city where people live near each other.
Yes. Try to visualize the street. The street is calm. There are big trees. The houses look comfortable. Many families have lived in these same houses for a long time. It is a peaceful, established place.
And into this quiet street arrives Daniel.
Daniel is new to the whole city. He moves into a small house at the very end of the street. If we think about Daniel's situation, we can understand his feelings. He does not know anyone.
He does not know where the grocery store is. He does not know the names of his neighbors.
There is a deep feeling of vulnerability when you are completely new to a place. Vulnerability means you feel a little unprotected. You feel nervous because you do not know the rules of this new environment.
Our listeners can probably understand exactly how Daniel feels. If you are learning English, you are a lot like Daniel. You are entering a new neighborhood called the English language.
That is very true.
You might feel that same vulnerability. You do not know all the words. You do not know all the rules yet. You might worry about making a mistake. It is a brave thing to walk into a new neighborhood.
That is a very encouraging way to look at it. Daniel is brave too. On his very first morning in his new house, Daniel wakes up early. He walks over to his window and looks outside.
What does he see?
Through the glass, he sees a woman. She is standing in her garden, and she is watering her flowers. This is Mrs. Carter. She looks up, and she notices Daniel looking out the window. She smiles at him.
And then what happens?
Then Daniel does something simple but very important. He opens his window and he says, "Good morning."
Good morning. Two incredibly simple words. But Mike and Lena point out that simple greetings are actually the most important step in building a relationship.
When Mrs. Carter hears him, she replies, "Good morning. You must be the new neighbor." Daniel nods and tells her his name.
Why is a simple good morning such a powerful tool?
Because it opens a door. When Daniel says good morning, he is doing much more than just stating the time of day. He is sending a message.
He is saying, I see you, I am friendly, I want to share this neighborhood with you in peace.
Exactly. It builds a tiny bridge between two strangers.
Notice the physical situation here too. This is not a high-stress moment.
Yeah.
Mrs. Carter is doing a very calm, quiet activity. She is holding a watering can. She's watching the water fall on her green plants.
And Daniel is inside his house. He has the window in front of him. This creates a very safe, low-pressure environment for a first greeting.
He does not have to run across the street and interrupt her. It is a gentle moment.
It is very gentle. And look at the words Mrs. Carter uses to answer him. She says, "You must be the new neighbor."
The phrase, you must be, is a very polite, soft way to make a guess in English.
Yes. She does not ask a direct, loud question like, "Who are you?" or "What is your name?" She gently makes a guess and leaves room for Daniel to answer. She makes it easy for him to talk to her.
I want to give you, our listener, a small piece of homework for tomorrow. Think about your own daily routine. Tomorrow morning when you buy your coffee, or when you walk into your office, or when you see someone in your apartment building.
Your mission is to simply look at them, smile, and say, "Good morning."
You do not need to plan a long conversation. You do not need to worry about complex grammar. Just test the power of those two words. See how it feels to build that tiny bridge.
When the other person smiles back at you, it feels like a small victory. It gives you the confidence to keep trying.
I highly recommend that homework. That small victory gives you energy. We see this with Daniel, too. That one successful greeting gives him the energy to go outside.
Later that day, he decides to explore his new street. He puts on his shoes, steps out of his house, and starts to walk.
We can slow down here and picture what he sees as he walks. He is not running. He is not in a hurry. He walks slowly and takes his time.
He sees children playing together on the grass. He sees people walking their dogs. He sees older neighbors standing on the sidewalk just talking and laughing.
Try to hold those images in your mind. The children, the dogs, the talking neighbors. Repeating these simple pictures helps you connect the English words to the feeling of a safe, friendly street.
As Daniel takes all this in, he thinks to himself, "This seems like a friendly place." He continues his walk until he reaches the corner of the street.
There, he finds a small grocery store. A grocery store is just a local shop where you can buy everyday food. He walks inside to buy two very basic items: bread and milk.
He walks up to the counter to pay for his bread and milk, and the owner of the shop looks at him and smiles. The owner says, "Hello, I haven't seen you before."
Let's pause and look at that sentence. I haven't seen you before.
Mike and Lena use this moment to teach us something very valuable about small talk. They remind us that small conversations are what truly build relationships.
The shop owner is being very observant, but also very polite. Saying, "I haven't seen you before," is a non-threatening invitation.
Non-threatening means it does not make you feel scared or defensive. It is a much softer approach than asking, "Where do you live?"
The owner is simply opening the door for Daniel to explain who he is, if he wants to.
It is a gentle invitation, and Daniel accepts the invitation. He laughs a little bit and says, "That's because I'm new here."
I really love that the story tells us he laughs. When you are speaking a new language or when you are in a new place, your shoulders can get very tight.
The laughing drops your shoulders. It removes the tension in your body.
Daniel's answer is honest and uses very simple vocabulary. "I am new here." That is all he needs to say.
This is a great example of why small talk shouldn't be frightening. Small talk is just light, easy conversation about everyday things.
Many people who are learning English worry a lot about small talk. They worry their vocabulary is too small. They worry they will run out of things to say.
But Daniel proves that you only need a few basic words. If you are honest, and if your tone of voice is friendly, the other person will understand you perfectly.
The shop owner proves this by smiling warmly and saying, "Welcome to the neighborhood." In just one day, Daniel has been welcomed by Mrs. Carter and by the shop owner.
He leaves the store with his bread and milk. He is probably feeling very relaxed and happy about his new home.
But as soon as he steps outside onto the sidewalk, something unexpected happens. The story introduces a surprising event that will test Daniel.
Exactly. He walks out of the store and he looks down at the ground. Sitting right there on the sidewalk is a little dog. And this little dog looks completely lost. There is no owner around.
We can look very closely at what Daniel does next. The story uses some excellent, simple action verbs to describe his movements.
Action verbs are words that describe what the body is doing. They are very important for language learners to practice because they help you describe the world around you.
First, the story says Daniel looks around. To look around means he turns his head to the left and then to the right. He checks the street to see if anyone is calling for a dog.
But the street is empty. So, next, Daniel kneels down. Let's explain that motion clearly.
To kneel down means you bend your legs so that your knees touch the ground. You lower your whole body.
Why does he kneel down? If a tall man stands over a lost, scared little dog, the dog might run away. Daniel kneels down to make his body smaller. He wants the dog to know he is safe.
Once he's on the ground, he speaks. The story says he gently says, "Hello there, little guy."
The word gently is key here. It means he uses a soft, quiet, calming voice. He does not yell.
And the dog responds to this gentle approach. The dog wags its tail happily.
For our listeners who might not have pets, when a dog moves its tail quickly from side to side, that is called a wag. A wagging tail is basically a dog's way of smiling. It means the dog feels happy and safe with Daniel.
Once the dog is calm, Daniel checks the dog's neck. He finds a collar, which is the band dogs wear around their necks. Attached to the collar is a tag.
A tag is a small piece of metal with writing on it. Daniel looks closely at the tag. It tells him two things. First, the dog's name is Buddy.
Second, there's a street address written on the metal. Daniel thinks for a second and he decides, I should take Buddy back home.
This decision shows a lot about Daniel's character. He's brand new to the city. He could easily ignore the dog, take his bread and milk, and walk back to his safe, quiet house. No one would blame him.
But he chooses to take responsibility. He chooses to become an active participant in his new community by solving a problem.
We can also see a great connection here to the journey of learning English. Notice how Daniel does not panic when he finds the lost dog.
Panic is a feeling of sudden, wild fear that stops you from thinking clearly. He does not know this city well, but he uses the small clues he has, the metal tag with the address, to figure out his next step.
That is a brilliant comparison. When you are listening to someone speak English or when you are watching an English movie, you will hear long sentences. You will definitely hear words you do not know.
Sometimes You might feel lost, just like little Buddy on the sidewalk. But you do not need to panic. You can look for your own tags. You look for small clues in the conversation.
Right. Maybe you recognize the tone of the speaker's voice. Maybe they look happy or sad. Maybe you catch one clear verb, like walk or eat.
You use those small clues to guess the meaning of the whole sentence. You do not need to understand everything perfectly. You just use the clues you have to find your way.
So, using his clue, Daniel decides to walk the dog home. He checks the address on the tag, and he begins to walk down the street with Buddy. After a few blocks, he finds the house that matches the address.
He walks up the steps to the front door and he knocks. The door opens, and we meet a new character. An older man stands in the doorway. This is Mr. Thompson.
The story tells us that Mr. Thompson's face looks worried. Let's talk about that word.
Worried means your mind is troubled. You are thinking about bad things that might happen. He has lost his dog, so his face shows fear and stress.
But watch what happens next. The moment Mr. Thompson looks down and sees Buddy, his expression completely changes. The story says his face lights up with relief.
Lights up is a beautiful descriptive phrase. Imagine you are standing in a dark, gray room. Suddenly, someone turns on a very bright, warm lamp. The darkness disappears instantly.
That is exactly what a human face looks like when it goes from being very worried to being incredibly happy. The stress vanishes.
And he feels relief. Relief is that deep breath out you take when a bad situation is finally over. It is the feeling of a heavy weight being lifted off your shoulders.
Mr. Thompson says, Buddy, with pure relief. Daniel smiles and explains gently, I think he got lost.
I really appreciate how Mr. Thompson handles this. He laughs softly and says, yes, Buddy loves adventures.
He uses humor. He does not get angry at the dog for running away. He calls it an adventure. This softens the mood. It makes Daniel feel comfortable.
Mr. Thompson introduces himself and he says, thank you for bringing him back.
Daniel replies politely, it was no problem. And then Mr. Thompson does something very important. He invites Daniel inside his house for a cup of tea.
We should take a minute to talk about this, because a cup of tea is never just a cup of tea in English-speaking cultures.
That is very true. Offering someone a cup of tea or a cup of coffee is a classic way to show gratitude. Gratitude means you are thankful for what someone did.
But more than that, it is an invitation to connect. When Mr. Thompson says, come in for tea, he is really saying, come inside my home. Sit down in a comfortable chair. Let's relax and talk. I want to know you better.
It is an offer of friendship.
Daniel accepts, and they sit together in Mr. Thompson's living room. While they drink their tea, Mr. Thompson asks, so, are you new in town?
This is interesting. Think back to the shop owner who noticed Daniel was new. Think about Mrs. Carter, who noticed he was new. And now, Mr. Thompson asks.
It shows that this neighborhood is a place where people pay attention to each other. They notice when someone new arrives, and they're curious in a friendly way.
Daniel answers simply, yes, I just moved here for work. Mr. Thompson smiles and tells Daniel the unwritten rule of this street. He says, you'll like this neighborhood. People here help each other.
People here help each other. That is the core value of the community. And the wonderful thing is, Daniel has already proven that he fits in perfectly. He just helped Mr. Thompson by bringing Buddy home.
Daniel smiles and says, I already feel welcome.
By returning the dog, Daniel started a chain reaction of good events. A chain reaction is when one action causes a second action, and the second action causes a third.
Because Daniel was kind to Mr. Thompson, the entire neighborhood responds. We see this very clearly the next day.
Yes, the next morning, Daniel is at home. Hears a soft knock on his front door. He walks over and opens it. Standing on his porch is Mrs. Carter, the woman with the flowers from his first morning.
She is holding a small basket in her hands. The basket is full of cookies.
Think about the effort it takes to make cookies. You have to mix the ingredients, bake them in the oven, and arrange them in a basket. It takes time.
It is a physical way of showing that you care about someone. She hands the warm cookies to Daniel and says, I made some cookies. I thought you might like them.
Daniel is surprised and very happy. He says, thank you so much. And then Mrs. Carter repeats the exact same rule that Mr. Thompson mentioned. She says, neighbors should take care of each other.
This shows how kindness works both ways. It is a circle. Daniel helped an older man find his dog. Now, an older woman is helping Daniel feel loved by bringing him homemade food. The kindness moves back and forth across the street.
The story then moves forward in time. It tells us what happens over the next few weeks. Daniel slowly becomes a real part of the community.
He talks with the shop owner every time he goes to buy milk. He goes for evening walks with Mr. Thompson and the little dog, Buddy.
He spends time outside, helping Mrs. Carter plant new flowers in her garden. He's building relationships.
Mike and Lena point to the final lines of this part of the story, which are very moving. The text says, "Slowly, the neighborhood no longer feels strange. It begins to feel like home."
We should talk about what the word home truly means here. When the story says it feels like home, it does not just mean the physical building.
It does not just mean the roof and the doors and the bed where Daniel sleeps.
Home means moving from a feeling of being strange to a feeling of being familiar. Strange means unknown and maybe a little scary. Familiar means you know the place, you feel safe, and you are comfortable.
Home is the place where people know your name. It is the place where people smile when they see you walking down the street.
There's a beautiful parallel here with learning English. A parallel is a similarity between two things. When you first open an English book or listen to an English podcast, the language feels strange.
The words look confusing, the sounds feel heavy in your mouth. You might feel a little lost and uncomfortable.
But with daily practice, things change. If you have small conversations, if you practice simple greetings, if you listen to stories, the language slowly becomes familiar.
The words start to feel like friends. You stop translating everything in your head. Slowly, speaking English begins to feel like a comfortable home for your thoughts and ideas.
That brings us to the deepest, most important message of this entire story. Mike and Lena state this idea very clearly. They say, kindness is a universal language.
Let's explain the word universal. Universal means it is true for everyone. It is true everywhere, in every country, in every culture, across the entire world.
Kindness is a language that every single human being understands, no matter where they were born.
Mike and Lena offer a very comforting thought for language learners. They remind us, even if your English is not perfect, people appreciate kindness.
We want to repeat that because it is so important to remember. Even if your English is not perfect, people appreciate kindness. You do not need perfect grammar to be a good person.
Think about Daniel's actions in the story. Did he use complicated, difficult, advanced vocabulary words? Did he speak in long, complex sentences?
No. He used very basic English. But his actions communicated a very powerful message. Stopping to help a lost dog speaks louder than any advanced vocabulary word.
Helping a neighbor plant flowers in her garden speaks louder than perfect grammar. His actions showed everyone that he had a good heart.
We want to encourage you directly right now. When you try to speak English, you are going to make mistakes. You might use the wrong verb tense.
You might forget a word entirely. You might mispronounce something. That is perfectly okay. Everyone makes mistakes when they learn something new.
But if you approach the conversation with a kind intention, and if you have a friendly smile on your face, people will understand your meaning. A kind intention is always understood.
Once people see your kindness, they will be patient with you. The vocabulary and the grammar will slowly build over time, but kindness is the strong foundation you build upon.
Now, Mike and Lena don't just leave us with a philosophy. They also provide some very practical tools. They include a language toolkit at the end of their lesson. They review 3 key expressions from the story.
We are going to act as your guides for this toolkit. We will practice these phrases together. We will speak slowly so you can hear the pronunciation, and we will talk about how you can use these exact phrases in your own daily life.
Let's look at the first expression. Listen carefully. Nice to meet you. I will say it again, a little slower, so you can practice saying it in your mind. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. This is a very common phrase, but there is a specific rule for when to use it. You only use this phrase when you are meeting someone for the very first time. You are introducing yourself, or they are introducing themselves.
Exactly. For example, if Daniel sees Mrs. Carter the very next day, he does not say, nice to meet you again. He already met her.
The next day, he would say, nice to see you. The word meet is only for that first handshake or that first hello. It is a polite, warm way to acknowledge a new person in your life.
Now let's practice the second expression in the toolkit. Listen closely. Welcome to the neighborhood. I will repeat it slowly. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome to the neighborhood. In the story, the shop owner uses this phrase to greet Daniel because Daniel moved to a new house nearby. But you can use the word welcome in many different ways in your own life to make people feel comfortable.
The word welcome simply means we are happy that you are here. So imagine a new person starts working at your office. You can smile and say, welcome to the team.
If a new student sits next to you in your English class, you can say, welcome to the class. If someone visits your city for the first time, you can say, welcome to London or welcome to Tokyo. It is a wonderful way to make someone feel safe.
It really is. And now, the third expression from our toolkit. Listen to this one. It was no problem. Let's slow it down. It was no problem. Daniel uses this phrase when Mr. Thompson says, "Thank you for finding Buddy the dog."
Let's talk about why Daniel says it was no problem. Usually when someone says, thank you, we learn to reply with, you're welcome.
You're welcome is perfectly fine. It is very polite. But saying it was no problem does something a little different.
It shows a gentle, humble attitude. Humility means you do not act like you are better than other people. You do not demand a big reward for doing something good.
When you say it was no problem, you are sending a message to the other person. You are saying, helping you was easy for me. It did not cause me any stress. I was happy to do it.
It makes the person who needed help feel less guilty. Sometimes when we need help, we feel bad for asking. If the helper says, it was no problem, we feel relieved. It is a very natural, friendly response that native English speakers use all the time.
So we have reviewed these 3 great tools, but a tool is only useful if you take it out of the box and actually use it. To help you use these tools, Mike and Lena end their program with a specific challenge for the listener. They ask the learner to practice actively.
Yes, the challenge is to retell the story of Daniel in your own words. To retell means to tell the story again using your own voice, your own memory, and your own vocabulary. To help you do this, they provide 4 simple questions.
We want to explain why retelling a story is so important for your brain. It involves a concept called active recall. Recall means bringing a memory from the back of your mind to the front.
When you just listen to us talk, you are doing passive listening. The words flow into your ears, you understand them, which is great, but your brain is relaxed. It does not have to work very hard.
However, when you try to speak and answer a question, you are doing active recall. You force your brain to search for the right English words. You force your brain to build the sentence from the beginning.
That mental effort, that hard work of searching for the word, is exactly what creates a permanent memory. Active recall takes the English language and makes it yours. It moves the words from the textbook into your actual life.
So we are going to do this challenge with you right now. I'm going to read the 4 questions from Mike and Lena. We will ask them directly to you. After each question, we will leave a long pause. We will be quiet.
During that silence, try to answer the question in your head. Or, if you are in a place where you can speak, try to say the answer out loud to the room.
Do not worry about making a perfect sentence. Do not worry about complex grammar. As Mike and Lena say, even simple answers will help you practice. Are you ready? Let's begin the active recall. Here's the first question. Who is Daniel?
Take your time. Think about how the story started. Who is he?
You might answer very simply, Daniel is a man. Or you could say, Daniel is a young man.
Or maybe he's the new neighbor. Any simple answer is a perfect answer.
Exactly. Let's move to the second question. What did Daniel find on the street?
Picture Daniel walking out of the grocery store with his bread and milk. He looks down at the sidewalk. What does he see?
You might say, he found a dog. Or you might add an adjective, he found a small dog.
Or he found a lost dog.
Great job. Now for the third question. Who is Buddy?
Think about the metal tag on the collar. Think about the man at the door.
You might answer, Buddy is the dog. Or you could say, Buddy is Mr. Thompson's dog.
Finally, here's the 4th question, the big one. How did Daniel become part of the neighborhood?
Think about the actions he took. What did he do to make friends?
You might say, he said good morning, or he talked to the shop owner, or he returned the lost dog.
Or simply, he was kind.
If you tried to answer any of those questions, even just by thinking of 1 or 2 English words during the silence, you should feel very proud of yourself right now. You just practiced active recall. You are training your brain.
We want to completely agree with Mike and Lena. Even the simplest answer is a major victory when you are learning a language.
You are building your English house brick by brick. And by retelling the story, you are mixing the cement to make sure those words stay in your memory for a long time.
As we come to the end of our time together today, we can gently review the journey we took. We started by looking at how stories are better than textbooks, because they provide context for natural expressions.
We saw a young man, Daniel, arrive in a completely new and unknown city.
He felt vulnerable, just like a language learner might feel, but he started building bridges with one simple, brave greeting through a window. He said, "Good morning to Mrs. Carter."
We saw how a short, honest conversation with a shop owner made him feel welcome.
We watched him take action when he found the lost dog, Buddy. He didn't panic. He used the clues he had. And returning that dog led to an invitation for tea with Mr. Thompson, which led to a gift of cookies from Mrs. Carter.
We talked about the emotional shift from feeling like a stranger to feeling like you are at home. And most importantly, we explored the idea that kindness is a universal language.
A warm smile, a helpful hand, and a polite greeting are understood everywhere, even if your grammar is not perfect yet.
At the very end of their program, Mike and Lena say something beautiful. They say, learning English is a journey, and stories make that journey more fun.
We believe that is entirely true. But before we finish today, we want to leave you with one final thought to think about after you stop listening.
Think about this idea. If learning and speaking a new language is like beginning a brand new story, then you are the main character. You are the Daniel of your own life story. When you wake up tomorrow and step outside your door, or when you log into an English class, you are walking down that quiet new street.
So who will be the Mrs. Carter or the Mr. Thompson in your next chapter? Who is the person waiting for your friendly smile? And how might your decision to look at someone tomorrow and bravely say good morning change the entire direction of your day?
You have the ability to build those bridges, you have the vocabulary, and you have the kindness to turn a strange place into a familiar home.
We truly believe you can do it. We want to thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us today. Thank you for your patience, for practicing with us, and for your hard work in learning English.
We wish you the absolute best on your continued language journey. Keep practicing your greetings, keep listening to natural stories, and always remember to be kind to yourself when you make a mistake.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, take care and keep speaking.